Ontario Premier Doug Ford lashing out this morning at terrible, bleeding heart, ideologically driven judges. He claimed that not only are they releasing criminals out on the street to reoffend, but they are also blocking his government's agenda and the will of the public who elected him.
What right do they have, an unelected, politically appointed judges, determining our budgets? Because of the decisions the judges have made in the past have cost us $10 billion. And we ran on a mandate. We got elected democratically. Last time I checked, there hasn't been any judges elected. Maybe that's the problem. We should do what the U.S. does. Let's start electing our judges, holding them accountable. And that's my rant for the day, because I've just had it. We get elected to move forward, and some judge, because of the ideology, decides, well, let's put an injunction on bike lanes. You got to be kidding me.
The comments about judges weren't the only interesting thing Ford was talking about this morning. Listen to what he had to say about his relationship with Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives and why he didn't campaign for them.
I shouldn't interfere in the federal election. Last time I checked, Pierre Poilievre never came out in our election. Matter of fact, him or one of his lieutenants told every one of his members, don't you dare go out and help the PCs. Isn't that ironic? But anyways, I'm not going to dig deep into this. The people spoke, and I have no say in who people vote for. But I'll tell you one thing. We have a government, democratically elected. I will hold them accountable.
All right, for more on this, let's bring in our Queen's Park producer, Randy Rath. Randy, let's start with Ford himself. He was very emotional. He came off kind of angry. Why do you think the Premier was so upset about this morning?
Well, Matt, absolutely. He was just on fire this morning, and I think it's because he's frustrated. He has, he's for a long time, he's been criticizing the catch-and-release bail system that we seem to have in this province, where people that have committed serious crimes or are alleged to have committed serious crimes are arrested and then let out on bail almost immediately, and then they reoffend. So he is really angry about that and frustrated that there's nothing else that he could do about it. And also, I think that really the straw that broke the camel's back was the injunction against the bike lanes. The Premier thinks that because he was elected with a strong mandate and he ran on building or on ripping out bike lanes, that no judge should be able to stop the will of the people, which he thinks he is acting on.
Do you think he's serious about this electing judges, or do you think he was just blowing off steam?
I don't think he's serious. He knows that the federal government appoints judges, and there's not a lot he can do about that. And you've got to remember, an element of this could be deflection, because, the Financial Accountability Officer released a report saying we're going to go into recession this year, and what he has done talking about judges has pushed that down in newscasts, and you'll see that story coming right up with Al Sweet.
That's right. We got that coming up, Randy. But before I let you go, I want to talk about the Poilievre comments as well. They come after Conservative MP Jamil Jivani slammed Ford during a live interview on election night, accusing him of sabotaging the federal Conservative campaign. Today, Jivani put out this image on social media. I'm going to have our director throw it up there. That's Doug Ford wearing a Liberal shirt and ripping off an Ontario PC T-shirt, if you can't tell. It seems, Randy, that the Conservatives are fine to keep this feud going between Ford and Poilievre.
Well, I think ultimately they don't like each other, and that's the crutch of the problem. They didn't. As Doug said in that clip, the Tories, the federal Tories, didn't give them any help in the provincial election, and his people, sat on their hands during Ford's people sat on their hands during the federal election, and who knows how much the outcome could have changed in the election if Ford's people had been out there, canvassing for them, taking people to the polls, getting out the vote. And I don't think that Ford will really suffer for it, because people in Ontario aren't that fond of Poilievre and his Conservatives and his method of campaigning.
So you don't think Ford will suffer? Is there a cost to the federal Conservatives for keeping this feud with Ford going?
Oh, yeah. If there's another election and Ford is still Premier, he will tell his people, his volunteers, to sit on their hands again. And that will, really make a difference in Poilievre's ability to get out the vote in Ontario.
All right, that's CHCH's Queen's Park producer, Randy Rath. Randy, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Matt.